The young and the restless spoilers' secrets in the shadows, the unraveling of Holdem and Audra's past in the dim light of a forsaken basement, secrets that had long been buried began to stir. The cold, damp walls bore silent witness to a clandestine meeting that would change everything. Audra, trembling with a mix of fear and resolve, stood at the threshold of a world she desperately tried to keep hidden. Across from her, Holdem's steely gaze held the weight of a painful past, a past they once shared as lovers and partners in life, now reduced to bitter enemies by a cruel twist of fate. A haunting reunion. Once upon a time, Holdem and Audra were inseparable. Their love burned fiercely, a beacon in the darkness of their troubled lives. Together, they built dreams and nurtured hopes, a promise of a future where their love could conquer all. The pinnacle of their union was their child, a living testament to the bond they once cherished. However, as the years passed, the flame that had once united them dwindled. Their paths diverged as ambitions clashed and priorities shifted, leaving a void that could no longer be bridged. Divorce came as an inevitable conclusion. Yet, even after the legal ties were severed, the echoes of their former life reverberated painfully in every corner of their existence. The custody of their beloved child soon became a battleground for power, pride, and unresolved emotions. Audra, determined to shield her son from the turbulence of a broken past, allowed him to be raised within the warm embrace of her family. In contrast, Holdem, driven by a fierce longing to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his, demanded custody, a demand fueled by both paternal love and a lingering resentment that refused to fade. The basement confrontation. On a chilly evening, in a basement shrouded by shadows and whispers of decay, Holdem and Audra met under the weight of impending consequences. The space, with its cracked concrete walls and the soft, relentless drip of water from an old pipe, set the stage for a confrontation that was as inevitable as it was explosive. For Audra, the meeting was not a choice but a compulsion. Threats had mounted relentlessly, and the secrecy that had safeguarded her dark and dangerous truths was now crumbling. Each threatening message reminded her of the stakes. If she faltered, the secrets that could ruin her and everyone she loved would be exposed. "Holdem, why are we here?" Audra's voice quivered, a mixture of defiance and fear. Her eyes darted around the confined space, searching for a reprieve from the claustrophobic tension that seemed to bind the room. "You know exactly why." Holdem's voice was calm yet laced with intensity. "Our son deserves more than half-truths and hidden lies," he said. "I'm not here just to rehash the past, Audra. I'm here because the secrets you've been guarding, these dangerous, life-altering truths, cannot remain hidden any longer. If you refuse to let go, I will reveal everything to Nate. And you know what that means." The weight of secrets for Audra, every word Holdem spoke was a dagger to the heart. The secret she carried was more than just a remnant of personal failure. It was a ticking time bomb that could shatter the delicate equilibrium of her life. Overwhelmed by a torrent of menacing information and threats, she had tried desperately to keep the truth locked away, fearing the catastrophic repercussions of its exposure. Her silence was her shield, her secret the only barrier against a world that could use it as a weapon. "You don't understand," Audra pleaded, her voice barely a whisper. "These aren't just personal secrets, they're connected to a network of power and deceit far larger than our family feud. Revealing them would not only endanger me, but could also destroy everything we've tried to build. Our son is caught in the middle of this storm, and I can't let him pay the price for our mistakes." Holdem's expression hardened as he absorbed her words. There was a flicker of regret in his eyes, a fleeting moment of nostalgia for a time when they had fought side by side for their dreams. But that memory was quickly overshadowed by the present's brutal reality. "I'm not asking for your permission, Audra. I'm demanding what's rightfully mine. Our son deserves to know his father, to have a chance at a life that isn't dictated by the secrets you're so desperate to hide. And if you won't give me a say in his future, then I'll have no choice but to let Nate in on the truth." The custody dilemma. The custody battle was more than just a legal dispute, it was the embodiment of a profound ideological divide. Audra's determination to keep her son in a safe, stable environment was met with Holdem's uncompromising belief in his right to be part of his child's life. Audra's family had embraced her son with open arms, providing him with love, support, and protection from the chaos that seemed to define his father's world. In contrast, Holdem viewed the custody of their child as an inheritance, a continuation of a legacy that he believed had been unjustly snatched away by the passage of time and the erosion of shared values. As their argument intensified, the basement became a stage for a high-stakes negotiation where every word had the potential to alter the course of their intertwined destinies. The threat to reveal Audra's secret to Nate, a man whose influence and connections in their shadowy world were formidable, added a volatile dimension to the conflict. Nate's name was synonymous with power, and his involvement could trigger a cascade of events that none of them were prepared for. The uncertain road ahead outside that grim basement, the world carried on in ignorant bliss, unaware of the storm that was brewing beneath its surface. Within those concrete walls, a battle was being waged, a struggle for control, redemption, and ultimately, the future of a child who represented both hope and a painful reminder of what had been lost. Every passing moment in that eerie space was charged with the possibility of irreversible change. Rumors began to ripple through the underground circles, whispering of a man reclaiming his place in his child's life and a woman whose secret threatened to upend an intricate network of alliances and betrayals. The legacy of Holdem and Audra was not merely a personal vendetta, it was a microcosm of a larger conflict where personal ambitions intersected with dangerous truths and the machinations of powerful entities. As the custody battle escalated, it became clear that the stakes were far higher than a simple fight for parental rights. Their conflict was a nexus point, where the past's unresolved grievances collided with the present's high-stakes power plays. The future of their child, and indeed, the balance of power within their shadowy network, depended on the outcome of this confrontation. A collision of fates, the echoes of their past resonated through every corner of that basement. What had once been a home filled with love and shared dreams was now a battleground for lost ideals and buried secrets. Holdem's demand for a role in his child's life was not just a plea for recognition, it was an assertion of his belief that he had been wronged, a challenge to the current order that had kept him at the periphery. Audra, on the other hand, was caught in a painful paradox. The same secrets that had once bound her to Holdem, and had driven them apart, now threatened to destroy the very foundation of her family's safety. Her refusal to yield was not born out of obstinacy alone, it was the manifestation of a fierce maternal instinct to protect her son from the fallout of revelations that could unravel everything they had fought so hard to preserve. The tension in that basement was palpable, a silent witness to the collision of two worlds. One world was governed by the ruthless pursuit of power and the hunger for control, while the other was defined by a desperate need for protection and the hope of rebuilding a semblance of normalcy in a life marred by deceit. The basement, with its oppressive silence and shadowed corners, became the unlikely arena for this fateful encounter, a place where past mistakes and future possibilities intermingled in a dangerous dance. The threat of revelation, Holdem's ultimatum to expose Audra's secret to Nate, loomed over the conversation like a dark omen. Nate, a man shrouded in mystery and wielding considerable influence, represented a force that neither Holdem nor Audra could fully control. The mere mention of his name sent ripples through the clandestine circles they navigated, hinting at alliances and betrayals that extended far beyond personal grievances. For Audra, the thought of Nate learning the truth was terrifying, a secret so volatile that it could ignite a series of events with far-reaching consequences. "You know the risks," Holdem warned, his tone devoid of the compassion that might have once softened his words. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about our son's future and the stability of everything we've built. If you refuse to reconsider, then Nate will know the truth, and nothing will ever be the same." Audra's heart pounded in her chest as she weighed her options. Each second that ticked by in that oppressive basement increased the likelihood of irreversible consequences. The fate of her family, and the delicate balance of power in their hidden world, rested on a knife's edge. The weight of her secret, which had burdened her for so long, was now the fulcrum upon which their future hinged. A story still unfolding in the silence that followed, both Holdem and Audra were left to confront the enormity of their choices. The basement meeting was not the end, but the beginning of a prolonged and arduous journey, a journey fraught with uncertainty, betrayal, and the ever-looming possibility of redemption or ruin. The future was an uncharted territory. Would Audra, driven by maternal love and the need to protect her son, find a way to keep her dangerous secret hidden, even as Holdem pressed for his rightful place in their child's life? Or would Holdem's relentless pursuit and the threat of exposing the truth force Audra into a corner, setting in motion a chain reaction that would shatter the fragile equilibrium they had managed to maintain? As the night deepened and the cold grip of the basement held them in its thrall, it became clear that the consequences of this fateful encounter would reverberate far beyond the walls of that forgotten space. The secrets that had once been safely locked away were now poised to burst forth, irrevocably altering the lives of everyone involved. The collision of past and present, love and betrayal, left an indelible mark on Holdem, Audra, and the world around them. In the end, the story of their struggle was not just about a custody battle or the unmasking of long-hidden secrets. It was about the human capacity for resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity, and the relentless pursuit of truth, no matter how painful it might be. Even as the basement's cold, unforgiving walls echoed with the final, unresolved words of their confrontation, one thing remained certain: this was only the beginning. The seeds of conflict had been sown, and as the winds of change began to stir, the destiny of their family, and the precarious balance between hidden truths and public realities, hung in the balance. Only time would reveal whether the scars of the past could heal, or if the dark legacy of secrets, betrayal, and lost love would ultimately claim its due. For now, in that isolated, shadowed basement, the fate of a fractured family was sealed by choices made in desperation, and the future lay shrouded in uncertainty, waiting to be written in the annals of a saga that was far from over. No way back. The battle between Holdem and Nate in the intricate web of deception and ambition, a fateful confrontation was brewing, one that would forever alter the lives of Audra, Holdem, and Nate. The stage was set, and the stakes had never been higher. Holdem, once a man of principle, had reached the point of no return. His desperate need to reclaim his son had consumed him, turning his once calculated mind into a chaotic force of obsession. The realization that Audra would never willingly yield had pushed him past the edge of reason. Now, there was only one way left: force. Nate, a man who loves without conditions unlike Holdem, Nate was not a man driven by control or desperation. His love for Audra was pure, untainted by the ghosts of her past. He didn't care where she came from, what secrets she held, or the sins she might have buried. To him, she was Audra, the woman he loved, the woman he was willing to protect at any cost. When Holdem threatened to expose Audra's past, Nate had merely laughed. "You think I care," he had told him. "Whatever she was, whatever she did, it doesn't change how I feel about her. You can't use her past as a weapon against me because it holds no power over our future." That was the moment Holdem realized his miscalculation. He had expected Nate to recoil, to back away in disgust, to abandon Audra when the truth came out. But instead, Nate stood by her side, unwavering, unshaken. Holdem had lost his leverage. And when a man like Holdem lost his power, he became dangerous. The kidnapping, a desperate move. Audra had never been a woman easily intimidated. When Holdem had tried to shake her resolve, she had stared him down with the same fire that had once drawn him to her. "You don't scare me, Holdem," she had said with a smirk. "You never did." That was the moment he snapped. With no other options left, Holdem did what he did best: he took control. If he couldn't manipulate Audra into giving him what he wanted, then he would take her. By force. The basement meeting had been a trap. The moment she had stepped inside, the door had slammed shut behind her, and the realization dawned too late: she had underestimated him. Holdem stood before her, a shadow of the man she had once loved. His eyes, once filled with passion, were now consumed by a desperate, unrelenting need to win. "You gave me no choice," he said coldly. Audra didn't flinch. "There's always a choice. You just chose wrong." But Holdem wasn't listening. He was past the point of reason. He had come too far, lost too much. If he had to burn every bridge, betray every bond, to get his son back, so be it. Nate versus Holdem, the final showdown. The moment Nate discovered Audra was missing, he knew who was responsible. Holdem had taken her. And if he thought for even a second that Nate would sit idly by, he had underestimated the depth of his love. Tracking Holdem wasn't difficult. A man like him, driven by desperation, always made mistakes. And Nate was patient, dangerously patient. He had spent years playing chess in a world full of men who thought they could outmaneuver him. Now, it was checkmate. The confrontation happened in a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of town. Holdem stood with Audra beside him, restrained but unbroken. Her eyes met Nate's the moment he walked in, a silent message passing between them. He thinks he's in control, but he's already lost. Holdem smirked. You shouldn't have come here, Nate. Nate tilted his head, unfazed. And you shouldn't have taken what's mine. Yours? Holdem scoffed. She's not property, Nate. She's the mother of my son. And I will get him back. You think this is the way? Nate's voice was calm, controlled. Taking her? Threatening her? You're not a father, Holdem. You're a coward. Holdem's jaw clenched, his hands curling into fists. You don't understand. She took him from me. She ruined everything. She protected him, Nate corrected. From you. And this? This proves she was right. The tension in the air was thick, suffocating. Holdem reached for the gun tucked at his waistband, but before he could even aim, Nate moved. With the precision of a man who had fought wars before, Nate disarmed Holdem in one swift motion, twisting his arm behind his back and slamming him against the wall. The gun clattered to the floor, the final symbol of Holdem's crumbling control. You lost the moment you thought you could take her from me, Nate whispered into his ear, his grip tightening. You lost the moment you let your desperation turn you into this. Holdem struggled, but it was futile. His body sagged in defeat, the weight of his failures crashing down on him all at once. Audra stepped forward, rubbing her wrists where the ropes had bitten into her skin. She looked at Holdem, not with anger, but with something far worse, pity. You never wanted our son, she said softly. Not really. You just wanted to win. Holdem's eyes burned with unshed tears. He had fought so hard, pushed so far, only to end up with nothing. And Nate? Nate had won, not because he was stronger, but because he had never played the game to begin with. The aftermath, no way back. The authorities arrived soon after. Holdem was taken away, his fate sealed not by his crimes alone, but by the choices that had led him there. As Audra stepped into the cold night air, Nate pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her protectively. She exhaled, the weight of the past few days finally lifting. Are you okay? He murmured against her hair. She nodded. I am now. Holdem had believed he could take her, that he could force his will upon her and the world would bend to his desires. But in the end, he had underestimated them both. Love wasn't about control. It wasn't about threats or ultimatums. Love was about choice. And Audra had already made hers. As she looked up at Nate, his warm brown eyes reflecting nothing but devotion, she knew she had chosen right. Holdem was gone. But the future? It was finally theirs to claim.